Yo! Video games.
What up, dudes? Matt here from YoVideogames, and I'm back again with another video. This time, I kind of wanted to follow up with something I noticed and put on social media, and it definitely got kind of misinterpreted by some of the drive-by, engagement baiters. And that is, I had a strange encounter over the last few months, sometime around late September, early October. I was in a store, a big department store in North America called Target, for those of you in the outside of the U.S. But I was in a Target, and there were stacks of Switch 2 systems, just stacks of them for sale. And it wasn't just one stack. There was multiple stacks. There was a stack in one section, and then there was a stack in another section. There was two stacks in Switch 2s. And I thought, wow, that's crazy. You know, they must have just maybe they just got a fresh shipment in or something. Like maybe that's like, the thing here. And lo and behold, I was in a store. I was actually in the same store 2 days ago. So it was like November, as of recording of this video, November 21st, 2025. And there were stacks, once again, of Nintendo Switch 2s in this large department store in their electronics section, both in the Switch section and in the main checkout section. Two stacks of Switch 2 systems. Now, anecdotally, like I can say, they were all base model systems. None of them, there were no Pokemon or Mario Kart bundles. They're all just the system itself. Other people in retail had commented to me that, like the Pokemon bundles go when they get them, but like the base models stay. And I want to say, this is something I have never seen. And I think the thing a lot of people misunderstand when I say I've never seen this is that I am saying Nintendo's doomed. Well, if you don't know me, I've been covering the video game industry longer than maybe some of you have been alive. My first E3 was in 2001, for example. I have been covering the game industry for quite a while, and I was working retail when PS2 was brand new, and GameCube first came out, and Xbox Original first came out, and even I was even doing like a temporary gig when the 360 came out. So I was there. I was there day one at launch for all of those consoles, and I was working, and I can tell you straight up, like it was hard, not impossible, to get a PS2 on the release year, the fall of 2000. That was damn near impossible without that pre-order. Same with the GameCube, same with the Xbox. 360 had the same issues. Like you weren't getting them. Like it was hard to get those systems that first year, and it was hard even after the initial holidays, because most of the time they came out, they came out like November, most of them, October, November, and yeah, it was really hard to get them in the first 3 months. But yeah, like but this goes all the way up the line. So this isn't just those system launches. I was there when PS3 launched. I was there when the Wii launched. I was in line for Wii's. Wii U was hard to find the first holiday it came out. Like it came out like November, but it was hard to find that first November. And that was the Wii U. Switch was very, very hard to find. It came out in March, but like it was hard to find Switches for a while. PS5s were hard to find for the first few years. So I've never seen a brand new console come out and then go into its first holiday season, and you could just walk into a store and there are stacks of them at any given point. And that's in September, late September, early October. That's in late November, right before Black Friday. The Switch 2 is not hard to find. That's not a bad thing. And the thing a lot of people don't understand here is that I am not saying this system isn't selling, because the thing is, we know it's selling. We know it's sold over 10 million. As of the end of September, it has sold over 10 million units worldwide. We know this thing is selling. It is selling good. It is selling fast. A lot of people already have it. It is a good selling machine. But it is not hard to find. And I think this might, in a weird way, speak to sort of the genius of what Nintendo finally did. Because Nintendo's been guilty of this, for the Switch. Again, Switch 1 was impossible to find the first holiday season. Wii U was hard to find the first holiday season. Granted, it came out like November. Wii was super hard to find for years. The GameCube, the first holiday season, was hard to find. The N64 was a nightmare the first holiday season. It came out in September 96. Super NES, so on and so forth. So this is one of those situations where I'm like, okay, this is actually kind of unprecedented, where they've met supply. And this is maybe why the Switch 2 isn't some massive powerhouse. It's not some $800 ROG Ally, Xbox Ally X, Xbox One, Xbox Ally, Xbox ROG Ally X. Like, maybe that's the genius of doing what they did, which is like, it's a powerful system. It is. But it's powerful in sort of unique, very Nintendo-like ways where they're like, yeah, we're going to do upscaling, we're going to do super sampling, rather than go for just raw hardware power. Again, this kind of speaks to, you know, the smartness. And then there's a little bit of a timing thing here too, because you know, the system was coming out right before all the apocalyptic, you know, things that have happened with both the tariffs and the race to AI, which has caused RAM to skyrocket because everyone's trying to get in on the AI scheme here, and it's just causing like certain components to just absolutely rocket in price. But Nintendo did the smart thing, is that they built a massive base of systems before launch, and that was really smart of them. And they did the right thing. And even though we all kind of wanted a Switch 2 earlier, we were getting really tired and burnt of the potato. I think in the end, the idea they went with, which was, we'll make it powerful, but not that powerful. And we'll just make a shit ton of these things before we start selling them. And we're not going to go through the supply constraint thing where, like, we have this hot product, everyone wants it, but no one can get it. And so people just sort of get angry and burn. And also, people have attention spans of goldfish. People have attention spans of dead goldfish nowadays. Like, if someone, like, wants something and they can't get it, they're going to forget about it by the time it gets back in stock, practically. So this hyper-fixated TikTok generation, I don't think people have the stomach to wait around and go hunting online or hunting in retail stores, you know, for product any longer. I think they just don't have. I don't think people have the stomach for it. I don't think they have the patience for it more than anything. I think patience is long gone for people. So I think Nintendo was also smart in a way to be like, all right, we're going to make something people want and people are going to be talking about. Make sure if someone wants this thing, they can just go and get it. Now, I do hear, of course, about people who are like, well, I don't get it. I haven't seen a Switch 2 on shelves in months where I live. And that, you know, I can't debate that. I can only tell you what I see myself. But I live in a I live in you know, Southern California. A high population here, high population density. A lot of people live, you know, in and around the, you know, the lower best coast. So they're supplying high volume areas, is all I can say, is that it would not be difficult to, you know, I mean, I don't know what it looks like in New York. Hopefully people in New York, you know, you can, if you wanted to go to the Nintendo store, just go on in and get a Switch 2, you know, if you needed one. The other thing though, is that does this forebode anything? And I'm like, it's hard to say this is foreboding for Nintendo when you've already sold 10 million. And probably by the end of this year, calendar year, not even fiscal, but calendar year, it'll probably have outsold the Wii U lifetime. Like Wii U lifetime, for example, was about 13, 14 million lifetime for the Wii U. And the Switch 2 is almost there at the end of September. So 4 years of misery of the Wii U is about to be eclipsed in 6 months of the Switch 2. So yeah, it's doing well. And again, there's, you know, statistics like it's selling better. Like, the one thing I will say this is people who'd like to say, well, it's selling 3% better than the Switch or 68% better than the PS4 in the similar time frame of those systems. And here's the thing I will say to people all who want to shout out, like, you know, oh, percentagely it's doing so much better. It's the fastest selling console ever. We don't know what it would have been, but I can guarantee you, if there was enough Switch 1s or PS4s or PS5s in the first 6 months, they would have sold just as well. People are kind of ignoring and overlooking the fact that the Switch 2 is selling faster because they have actual stock. And it is selling well, but it has stock. Switch 1 and PS4, they had stock issues for months, if not years. If there was that many PS4s, if there were that many Switch 1s in the first 6 months of those systems coming out, they would have absolutely sold that many amount of units of hardware. So it's a false argument. It's a stupid argument to say it's the fastest selling console, because we've never seen a brand new console come out in this volume, which is a good thing. This is a good thing. This is a boon. This is a compliment to Nintendo that they were able to make a product, a system people absolutely wanted right away, and were able to meet out all the demand. In fact, they are exceeding demand for the thing. So they have more supply than there is demand, which is good. And is it concerning? Not yet. I'll tell you when it's going to be concerning. June 2026. If the first 6 months of next year, with this economy being what it is and prices going up and inflating like they are, if that starts scaring away people who have to understandably start really saving money and being a lot more picking and choosing where they can put all of their money and time, if that starts to really slow down the Switch 2 sales to a crawl, that's when you start being concerned. But it won't just be Nintendo. If the same problem facing that could theoretically face Nintendo in the first 6 months of next year, that's going to be the same problem that's going to face Microsoft and Sony, and hell, even Valve, even with their new Steam machine and stuff. So, yeah, if there's there, I do think that this is not a Nintendo problem next year, but I do think there is an oncoming potential of people might just dig into what they have. And we might start seeing a real slowing of hardware across the board next year, especially if RAM prices are causing the increase. Because it's already been rumored that the Xbox is about to go up a third time because Microsoft had no supply. They weren't manufacturing a large quantity of Xboxes because, one, they're just not selling, but they're basically not going to be able to buy RAM at wholesale prices to put into their Xboxes. So they're going to have to buy RAM expensive, and to mitigate those costs, they're going to have to start increasing the cost of the system. Nintendo literally avoided this already this year when they decided, instead of increasing the cost of the Switch 2 because of tariffs, they decided to increase the cost of the Switch 1, almost sort of, conceding the fact that maybe the Switch 1 now will never outsell the PS2 lifetime. Because even if it did, I'm sure that weasel fuck, at Sony, one of them, will come out and say, well, actually, we sold 165 million PS2s. Well, really, the final manufacturing total was actually 170 million. Like, I'm sure they'll find some fucking way to come up with another 5 to 10 to 20 million PS2s that somehow fucking sold in the lifetime of the PS2, because the PS2 apparently can never be outsold, according to fucking Sony and all the little rat fucks that work for them. But anyways, that rant aside, Nintendo's already tried to mitigate, the increase of hardware manufacturing by passing it on to the Switch 1, which was smart, honestly. Like, if you didn't have a Switch 1 at this point and now it's gone up in price, it's like, well, I mean, go find a used one, go find a friend. Like, there's 153 million of them out there somewhere. I'm sure people can find a way to get a Switch 1 used or cheaper at some form or another. Like, I don't know why you'd buy a new Switch 1 at this point. It really doesn't make any sense. But yeah, like, again, go for the Switch 2. And if Nintendo can find ways, because of so much supply that they've made, if they can again weather this storm, mitigate this disaster, keep selling it for $450, which even I think is a little steep. But I mean, if they could just keep it at $450, for as long as humanly possible, I mean, yeah, like, hopefully they can do that. And hopefully also they can, we're going to continue to see more game product, because I haven't talked about games at all in this little segment here. But let me just say this on video games, is that I think to this day, and I make no apologies, I make no I'm not going to sugarcoat it. I think this is a very scrambly launch year. I think the launch lineup of the Switch 2 first 6 months is scrambled, like scrambly. And what I mean by that is, like, you have your sort of, okay, they had their killer app, which was Mario Kart World, which made sense, and Donkey Kong, your 1-2 punch. Here's our follow-up to our best-selling game of all time, Mario Kart World, and then here's our big 3D platformer exclusive to the system, which is Donkey Kong Bonanza. The rest of the system's releases have felt like a scrambled hodgepodge of stuff. A lot of, we got cross-gen with Pokemon and Metroid. We got a spin-off, a third, part 3 another Hyrule Warrior spin-off. We got a sequel to a not obscure, but definitely not far from the best-selling GameCube game of all time. We got a Kirby Air Rider sequel and a Hyrule Warriors sequel, and then a cross-gen Pokemon and a cross-gen Metroid, and a bunch of weird DLC options for Switch 1 games, with Mario Party Jamboree, with Kirby, so on and so forth. And then it's kind of following next year. We're going to get like an Animal Crossing Nintendo Switch 2 edition and a Mario Wonder Switch 2 edition. And these are not killer apps. Like, this isn't like this. It's not to say that they're bad, but like, it does feel a little bit like, okay, well, yeah, Pokemon is going to be Pokemon and Metroid is going to be Metroid. You're going to get similar experiences on Switch 1 as Switch 2. I mean, Switch 2 will probably give you a much better Pokemon experience with the frame rate being what it is, but like Metroid is going to run at 60 on the Switch 1. You're not going to get 4K 60, but you'll get 60 frames. You'll get 1080 120 frames on Switch 2. So, yeah, it's a weird scrambled launch. It's not like Switch 1, which was my back is against the wall, Nintendo. I need a genre-defining, redefining Zelda at launch. I need a massive Mario 64 caliber Mario game for the holidays. I need a sequel to my massive fucking third-person shooter hit Splatoon. I need a huge fucking RPG first-party exclusive with Xenoblade 2. I need a big old collaborative crossover with Ubisoft, with XCOM, with Rabbids. Mario Rabbids, what I mean. You don't have back against the wall Nintendo like you did with Switch 1. We got things, some cross-gen and some weird stuff here. Like, the only cross-gen game you could actually say was Breath of the Wild at Switch 1's launch. And Switch 2 is just, it's a weird hodgepodge. It's a scramble. And again, I don't think next year looks particularly like, it also isn't like killer app land, you know what I mean? Like, Mario Tennis is getting a new game in February, which is cool, like, great. Like, you want that, because you want variety. And you were getting a very simple looking Yoshi game sometime in the spring, which is also kind of makes me kind of like, all right, that's nice, but it kind of feels like when Yoshi's Story came out and people were looking for the next big killer app to follow Mario 64 and they thought Yoshi's Story was going to be it. Yoshi's Story was not it. Hopefully Yoshi and the Amazing Book fares better than Yoshi's Story. But yeah, this is one of those, it's just, I feel like Nintendo's like, we have games and they're quality, but there is a sort of like, boy, Nintendo is like, is back against the wall. We need to like really make sure you want the Switch 1. It doesn't feel like that with Switch 2. And maybe that's just kind of a good thing in general too, because again, if people are going to if it's going to be more of a financial hardship to get a Switch 2 because of the price and the cost, maybe not, fucking loading this thing up with exclusives is maybe a better way to go about it. Maybe the idea that we're still going to have Rhythm Heaven and Tamagotchi Life and a massive fucking free update to Animal Crossing for Switch 1 owners next year, maybe that's just a good play. Again, might just be speaking to their genius a bit here, where they're like, look, we know not everyone's going to get a Switch 2, but we're going to keep them playing Switches. We're going to keep them thinking about Nintendo. We're going to keep them talking about Nintendo because we're still going to have Nintendo product even for the Switch 1 owners. So again, this is kind of diving into that. They might be onto something here by not sort of like racing ahead and just trying to cut off the Switch 1 immediately. And again, like maybe waiting a little bit for some of those big, Donkey Kong Bonanza is a killer app, no doubt. And for some people, Kirby Air Riders will be a kind of a killer app. But yeah, as far as I would say, I'll fight back and say I don't think Mario Kart World. I think Mario Kart World looked and sounded like a killer app, and then we got it and we played it and it was like, yeah, okay, no, I'm good with this game after a week. And Hyrule Warriors is fine, but it's a Warriors game. Yeah, unless you're real fucking interested in Tears of the Kingdom storyline for whatever reason, like it's hard to sit there and be like, that's a killer app, something you can't get anywhere else. You can get Warriors games every week. Koei pumps these things out, by the truckload. So, but yeah, and again, Pokemon, Metroid are also cross-gen. So yeah, when it comes to like, what do you need a Switch 2 for? What can a Switch 2 give you that you can't get on a Switch 1? And it's Donkey Kong Bonanza. It's Kirby Air Riders for now, and I guess Mario Kart World, and just Drag X Drive, but whatever. Like, welcome to her. Come on. Great system, though. The ports are coming in. When you're seeing what Cyberpunk and Star Wars Outlaws can do on a Switch 2, I'm not worried about the future of the Switch 2 or third party at all. At this point, it's up to the third parties to make third-party games worth it. Because if you can make Outlaws and Cyberpunk 2077 run as well as they do, and Assassin's Creed Shadows, I don't know how that works. I don't know how well that looks on Switch 2, but if you can get those other 2 games running as good as they are on Switch 2, yeah, it's on you if you don't make a good port. So yeah, I guess that's all I have to say. I've been covering the game industry for pretty much 25 years, professionally 25 years, and I've been covering and watching and maybe being enthusiast about video gaming all my life. But I have never seen a system come out and be readily and easily available in stores. No one was rushing to buy these. These wasn't like both times when I saw these stacks of Switch 2s, nobody was rushing to buy it. In fact, a little kid, a 5-year-old even went over and was like, "Oh, a Switch 2." And the mom was like, "We have Switch at home. It's the same thing. Let's go." And then she like moved on, which speaks more to like the naming convention, if anything. But yeah, like no, these were there was no rush of people. There was no recreation of Jingle All the Way to get these Switch 2s. They're just sitting there. They're sitting there like their fucking booster on the shelf. So, like, good on Nintendo for meeting that supply, because we know the sales. We know it's selling good. But yeah, like, good on Nintendo for that. And hopefully this can lead to Nintendo feeling a little good about themselves, so that when that February Direct rolls around, we're going to start seeing some real big killer apps. I want to see the big killer apps, the big surprises. Okay, I don't need any more things that could have run on a Switch 1 without really trying. No offense, Yoshi, but whatever. Like, I want to see some big surprises. Give me something like that Fire Emblem caliber. Let me know what you guys think, what you want to see, and what's your Switch 2 supply look like where you are. Let me know about that. I'll be curious to hear. So yeah, looking forward to that, and I'll see you on the channel. Later, dudes.